a live stream, but I'm not sure whether any of you have seen that. So I'm just checking to see whether this is working now. So I might have been talking to myself for the last 5 minutes, but yeah, hopefully this is working. Just gonna wait for confirmation before I go off on another 10-minute rant, just that it's come through. Bear with me 1 second. Okay, so I've just had confirmation that this is now live, and audio is all good. Great, so I've just been speaking to myself for 5 minutes, but I'll just go back through what I've just said. So first of all, welcome to the CrazyBulk Summer Shred Challenge. Over the next 8 weeks, the goal is going to be to transform your physique. I'm also jumping in on the challenge as well, so I'll be transforming my physique as well. The drop body fat, that's going to create the best beach body look and best shredded look. It's now technically it's day 3 of the challenge, so I hope you're all smashing it so far. Obviously 3 days in, we should be absolutely flying. Hope you found out what your calorie deficit is. Hope you're hitting your daily steps, and also still managing to smash the gym. If you haven't worked out your calorie deficit yet, then if you head over to the nutrition guide, so CrazyBulk should have sent out a nutrition guide and your workout plan. I try to put as much information in there as possible, basically just to give you the guidance and knowledge that I found through doing some preps before for men's physique. So if you haven't worked out your calorie deficit, that's probably the most important thing. You need to know how many calories you should be eating in a day in order to be losing body fat. So I put some references to the calorie calculators in the guide. So if you go to the nutrition guide, options there, but again, just Google calorie calculator and put in some information yourself, and it should give you a rough estimate. This is a guide, but yeah, it's a bit of a trial and error process from there. So first of all, remember, if you have over the next few weeks a particularly bad day where you don't gym, you go way over on your calories, you don't hit your step count, you have a really bad night's sleep, it doesn't matter too much. The challenge is an 8-week shred, so it's 56 days. 1 day after 56 won't make any difference at all. However, if you're going to get the best results possible, then ideally you're going to need to stick to it. Just a reminder though, that if you do go off, of course, don't just think, right, I've ruined my chances of doing this transformation. Just get back onto it then the following day. So 8 p.m. every Wednesday, I'm going to be jumping on a live stream. Again, hopefully you can all watch this back at some point later in the week in case you can't manage to get on at 8 o'clock to watch it. So throughout the week, if you want to head over to the CrazyBulk Instagram, they're going to be doing some stories. You can then post your Q&A questions that you want answering. And then I'll be picking out as many as I can just to run through the questions. So this is going to happen over the 8 weeks. We're going to be doing the first 3 weeks. Every Wednesday, there's going to be a YouTube live stream. And then on the 4th week and 8th week, we're going to be doing a Zoom call where I can actually speak to some of you about questions face-to-face on Zoom. So I've got some questions here that have come through this week that I'm just going to go through at random. So again, if I've missed anything, or there's anything in particular you really want some advice on, you can either DM the CrazyBulk Instagram. If you send them a message, then I'm sure they can include that, send that over to me, and I can include that in the following week's live stream, or just DM me directly. So my Instagram is @TomSeedFitness. Just send me a DM. I've already had quite a few of you guys just sort of letting me know that you're going to get on board, and you've already sent me some messages, which is great, and I'm more than happy to help any of you out where I can. I'm going to be, again, I think I mentioned it, I'm going to be doing the challenge myself, so it's quite good that I'm doing it with you. So any sort of pointers or tips that I'm incorporating, I can always let you know. So first question is from Dan. He said, is working the same muscle group 5 days per week too much? It depends. If you've got a serious, weak point, so if you have a particularly, I don't know, your chest is small and you want to focus on that, then you're going to want to train that more. It's probably advised to train kind of all your muscle groups like an equal amount. If you have a serious imbalance, so you have like really good shoulders but a small chest, then you maybe want to increase that muscle group. 3 days a week. I would say you're probably going to find that training a muscle group 5 times per week is going to just fatigue that muscle group. You probably won't be able to recover. One thing to remember is that you actually grow most when your muscles are recovering, not necessarily being worked. So if you're training, I don't know what this muscle group is, but let's say he's referring to arms or chest. If you're training those muscle groups 5 days a week, there's only 2 days of the week that they're going to be recovering. So I'd probably say yes, it is too much, but it's again individual. If there is something you want to particularly grow, then yeah, you're going to need to increase the frequency on those muscle groups. Next question is from Anna from Florida. I'm in fairly good shape for 53 years old. I can't seem to be able to lose belly fat. I'm 5'4" and 153 pounds. I exercise 5 days a week. Any secrets as to how to lose the belly pouch? Okay, so unlike muscle, we can target where we want to build the muscle by training that muscle group. When it comes to body fat, we can't target where we lose the fat from, unfortunately. So yeah, this is a case of everyone's different. Everyone holds body fat in different places. For me, the last point I did like a prep and got down to about 4% body fat, the last part of, or the majority of the sorry, it's an issue. So there's no special creed, no special exercise. It's just being a calorie deficit. So no, it's purely being in a calorie deficit. Just to bear in mind that as you do this 8 weeks, you'll find that if you're focusing on losing your lower belly fat, which is in most people's the last bit of fat to come off the body. So don't be disheartened when you haven't lost your belly fat and it's been 4 weeks of the prep or the challenge. It's a case of keep going over the 8 weeks, and yeah, being in a calorie deficit is going to be the secret to this. George said, when it comes to cutting and carb cycling, what's the best way to cut when trying to cut fat for a solid cut physique? Especially with a lot of stress. Okay. I've just got a notification. It's disconnected. Okay. I suppose the question here is, what's the best way to cut? Okay, it's a slightly strange question. Ultimately, going back through my nutrition guide, the key for this is going to be being in a calorie deficit. There's no secret tool. You can use different methods in order to get in the calorie deficit. So for me, I particularly like intermittent fasting because I don't really need to train later on in the day. Therefore, I can push my calories later on and basically fast up until about midday. Weekends are slightly different. They're tailored because I do train in the morning. Therefore, I'll eat a bigger breakfast. So my weekend meals look very much like food throughout the day. During the week, I can kind of tailor that so that I eat much later, which is midday, my pre-lunch, and then dinner as usual. So the question is kind of asking, I suppose it's about carb cycling. Everyone is going to do it a different way. Ultimately, work out your calorie deficit and find a way that suits you in order to achieve those calories. So the way you train, basically the time of day you're training, is going to be a factor as to when you're going to eat. There's various different methods, but everyone's different. So I would say, if George, you asked me the question, send me a DM, send me kind of like your day structure, send me like what works for you and what you're doing now, and we could, put together a little plan of like when to be eating, just to maintain that deficit. Mark, how much sleep do you recommend for a late 30-year-old male? I get around 7 to 8 hours sleep, but my sleep tracker claims that I'm not getting enough deep sleep. Okay, so sleep tracker's great. I mean, he's already onto that, which is something that I'd be recommending. So I, for a while, used Whoop. Whoop's really good. I'd definitely recommend that as an option. So the fact that, first of all, he's tracking his sleep, he's using a sleep tracker, that's kind of stage one. 7 to 8 hours, everyone's going to be different. People run on different amounts of sleep in order to function. Ultimately, yeah, the goal is probably 8 hours plus. Yes, it will affect your recovery. Sorry, the second part of his question was, how would that affect my recovery? Do you have any supplement recommendations? Yeah, I mean, sleep plays a huge factor. You're going to train harder. The body's going to, again, when you get, it's an 8-week shred. When we get sort of 2-3 weeks in, your hunger hormones are going to really kick in. You're going to be feeling fatigued, running on a calorie deficit. So sleep's a big factor. If we don't sleep, we're going to feel even more fatigued. So yeah, I would say the goal is 8 hours. Use your sleep tracker. That will give you guidance. If you've had 3 poor nights sleep in a row, then your tracker will kind of highlight that to you. Low sleep, yeah, your recovery is going to struggle. Supplement recommendation, I have got a few. Let's have a look. So products for sleep, ashwagandha is the KSM ashwagandha, magnesium, lion's mane, bacopa, L-theanine, and then phosphatidylserine. They're all pretty good. There are loads of sleep supplements out there. Basically, I'd look for any of those. They've all worked with me before in the past. And yeah, I'd kind of recommend any of those. Any sleep capsule the night before bed always helps. And there are various sleep techniques. So you can use sleep apps. Even just like trying to reduce your caffeine intake from like maybe midday onwards. So coffees in the morning, pre-workouts in the morning, but try and reduce that later on in the evening. Try and put your phone down, try and minimize time looking at screens, just to kind of wind down and get ready to sleep. They'd be my tips. What else have we got? Despite being in a calorie deficit of 500 calories, which is about right, that's pretty good. It's normally about 20%. So yeah, despite being in a calorie deficit of 500 calories, I'm working out 6 days a week, 3 days heavy push-pull, and 3 days light push-pull. Why am I not shredding fat? Okay, so if Craig is in a calorie deficit of 500 calories and he's working out 6 days a week, then he will be losing fat. I don't know how long he's been in this calorie deficit for, but I would imagine probably not long enough for him to be able to see the results. I often find I've done like a 16-week prep before, I've done an 8-week prep before. So my advice on this is the 30% is the slowest. You don't really see that many results. Your first 2 weeks, you'll hardly notice anything. The analogy is like the loo roll. If you were to take 10 pieces of loo roll off the actual roll itself, you probably wouldn't notice. But by the end of it, when you've taken off 8 weeks worth, then you would. So it's kind of like, to begin with, yeah, you're probably not going to notice an instant change in your physique. So I imagine from this question, Craig is probably only maybe 1 to 2 weeks into doing this, which is why he's probably not seeing huge differences. So all I can say to that is either the calorie deficit of 500 calories isn't quite there. He may need to kind of go back and look at his calorie calculator or monitor his food slightly stricter. Or if he is in a 500 calorie deficit, then he hasn't been doing it long enough. So it's just a case of, just continuing doing what he's doing, and he'll see the results. If he doesn't see the results and it's been another 3 weeks, let's say, then I would definitely revisit your calories, because maybe the deficit isn't quite as big as he thinks. And the final question here from Jeffrey is, how do I go about losing stubborn belly fat whilst maintaining gains when lifting? I'm new to the gym and working out as a whole, but not completely. Okay, again, I guess the belly fat is going to be a similar question that comes up quite a lot, especially when we're wanting to get the beach body abs. The lower belly fat is always probably, most likely, the last bit of belly fat that will come off. In terms of targeting it, you can't. It's just a case of being patient. So if the question was how do I go about losing fat in general, then it's calorie deficit, energy expenditure, making sure you're burning more calories than you're consuming. So however you want to do that, it's up to you. The focus on this is really going to be diet. Diet is going to be the key factor. You can get in serious shape without doing much gym or cardio. It's just a case of eating in a calorie deficit. He's referenced here whilst maintaining gains. So this is where your weights training really comes into play. If you're in a deficit, you're going to be losing body fat, but you may also be losing muscle. So the key here is to keep up with your resistance training, your weight training, as much as you can. So yeah, hitting a session 3-4 times a week is going to help with muscle prevention. It's really to muscle when you're in a big deficit. So we don't want the deficit to be too severe, but we want to be able to get results. So again, I'd aim for about 20% of your calories, your maintenance calories. So yeah, let's say your maintenance calories are 2,500. A 500 calorie deficit would be great. And then yeah, to maintain gains, resistance training, weight training, anything that's going to help build muscle. And in terms of the belly fat, again, it's just a case of you'll lose body fat on your whole body. You might find your belly fat is the last bit to come off. So don't be disheartened if it's still there after 4 weeks. The challenge is an 8-week shred. So yeah, give it time, stay with it, stay consistent. And I look forward to seeing all the transformations at the end of the 8 weeks. Any questions throughout now and next Wednesday, send some questions over to the CrazyBulk Instagram. I want to see how you're getting on. I want to see the transformations. I want to see your starting point. So it's only 2 days after the challenge. Make sure to take those before photos. I know I don't particularly like taking before photos because they're terrible, but it's a really good a place to look back on and see how much progress you've made. So my advice over the 8 weeks would be weekly. You want to be weighing yourself just to make sure you're, losing some weight. Don't do it every day because your body weight can just fluctuate randomly and throughout the week. So if you're doing it daily, you may get disheartened or panicked, or it becomes a bit too obsessive. So I would do a weekly check-in. I do a weekly photo, and I do a weekly weigh-in. So before photos now, tag them on, and then any progress or any gym sessions or anything you're doing throughout the week that's related to this challenge, make sure you post it on Instagram, on socials, and don't forget to tag CrazyBulk as well. Each week we're going to have a giveaway. So basically tag CrazyBulk, add the hashtags CB Summer Shred, add the hashtag CrazyBulk Challenge, and share them on Instagram. Use those hashtags. We're going to be picking winners throughout each week. So I think this week we've got a Lumi Max Pod. It's one of those ice baths. Really good for recovery. So it'd be pretty cool to give one of those away. So get involved and make sure you can, post some pictures, tag CrazyBulk, tag me. Up for seeing it all. Any questions in the meantime, DM me directly on Instagram, or send some questions over to CrazyBulk. At the end of the 8 weeks, I'm going to be taking on someone, whoever does the best transformation, just to personally coach and monitor and help out and build a bit of a rapport with and it's like a relationship, just to kind of help them. And it'd be really cool to also train with them or do some bits online, depending on where they are in the world. But yeah, so I think that's it for the live stream. Any questions between now and next Wednesday, fire them over. And yeah, thanks for joining me. I will be back here 8 p.m. on Wednesday. And I don't think I missed anything off. No, I think that's it. Just whilst I'm on, 1 second. Oh. Okay, I think I've covered everything. Don't forget to check out CrazyBulk supplements. There are some products. I think we've got the Mass Series and Natural Alternatives. So give CrazyBulk, have a look at them. They'll give you some more further advice on which products to take throughout a cutting phase. But yeah, I think that's everything for me. Look forward to seeing you all next Wednesday. Don't forget, week 4, there's going to be a Zoom call, so I can actually chat to some of you over Zoom. But yeah, I think that's everything for this week. Keep going. Don't lose motivation. Week 1's the easiest. But yeah, keep going and tag me in any photos. See you all next Wednesday.